Let's finish him up. Why can't it just simply go in there? So let's try to use some force. This looks completely different. This oil pan is way too beautiful for my Caddy. Let's start the engine. That doesn't sound too good. But it just really feels great to know that I've rebuilt this transmission under the tunnel here. This is a new torque converter I ordered because I mentioned that I am suspecting, or I was suspecting, my old torque converter. So before I install this onto my TH400, I have to pre-fill it. So let's get some ATF into this torque converter. The gears for the pump are for this one. They are standing that way, so I am trying to put it on that way and hope that those teeth go in easy. One, two. I think that's it already. Try it one more time. One, two. One, two. There's almost no space left to reach between torque converter and the case. So that is in. Oh boy, this is heavy. With the torque converter. Alright. So, first thing done. Getting it into the middle of the car. Now I'll lower my car jack and try to get the trans back on this thing to lift it up. Yeah. Absolutely perfect. So the first thing I want to try is tilt the end towards me so I can get this tranny bell housing above my headers and then turn it back and put it up onto my engine. So I hope that works. At least that's the way I got it out. I'm trying to do baby steps here. So let's try to get it closer to the engine. Little by little. Alright. It's starting to look good. This is a full workout day. Tiny baby steps, remember. Don't rush things. How does your side look? It's starting to look good. The dowel pins are not that far away anymore. So here is the dipstick tube, and get that around here, around the bell housing, as well as the vacuum tube here. And let's lift the trans a bit more. So next baby step. I got dipstick tube and the low air, the vacuum tube behind the bell housing. Now it's time to get them in somewhat in place. And I gotta check if the vacuum line is still connected on top of the engine, but that's not for now. I could connect the oil pressure lines because I can reach them far better down here, and I want to flush them. This is the upper one and the lower one down here. So I'm just checking if both of them are tight. This one is tight, the lower one tight as well. So let's flush the oil cooler. Let's get it started on this side first. Just get it snug. Really curious how that's gonna look like. Come on. Can you see that? It's coming. This looks clean. Okay, and let's flush the other side. Looks clean. I want to do it the other way around, just one more time. Alright, this looks clean. And now let's use air. Alright, system is flushed. Let's get this started. This looks good. It's tight. So that is done. The other one I'm gonna do when the transmission is mounted. So I cannot get this last bolt of the bell housing in, because this is the one that holds the dipstick tube in place, and the dipstick tube won't slip into the case. So I've been struggling with that for an hour at least. So right now I decided I want to push as far as I can, so that this is one of the last things I have to do. I need the engine and transmission to be slightly tilted downwards, so I can't get the cross member in, but I put in the speedometer, drive shaft, the downshift solenoid connection. Now I'm bolting in the torque converter to the flywheel. So the first one is in. Let's torque it. So one is in. So I can see the hole of the next bolt here, of the next one. It's working. this is done. And off to the last bolt. This one is in too. This is tight. Alright. Torque converter and flywheel are connected. There is no daylight left. And it's too late. And I didn't manage to get it done and do a test drive. But honestly, it went smoother than anticipated. I got the transmission in by myself, got it up, got it married to the engine. I still can't get the dipstick tube into the transmission case. So this is the dipstick tube, this thing here, and it won't go in here. So I tried to pull the case bushing onto the dipstick tube to sort of widen it. So now I'm going to put it back in and try to slip the dipstick tube down. It's the 4th day of wrenching on my transmission, and I'm still struggling to get the dipstick tube back in. And I've been thinking about it, and I've got some ideas in my head which I want to try. First thing I want to try is put the wrench over this small lip of the tube so I can apply more force downward. And it's really cold today. It has like 8 degrees Celsius. Let's try that out. The difficulty here is also to find the right angle for the dipstick tube to go in. Still another block. Right. And another try. Why can't it just simply go in there? I can't get any leverage here. It makes it so hard. So I honestly didn't think about the dipstick tube being the hardest part to get back in. Next step is trying the slide hammer. Let's try something else here. One hook here, the other one is on the wrench, and the wrench is placed on this wooden thingy, so it creates some kind of leverage onto the dipstick tube. And it started to go in a tiny bit. The transmission dipstick tube will not go in. So that's it for today. Another day gone without any progress. Yesterday I found out that I wouldn't have been able to put the dipstick in because with the transmission on the cross member there's this little latch for the bolt where the bolt goes through into the engine block through the bell housing, I have to get this latch from the dipstick tube past the bell housing. So let's try to use some force. Carefully, forcefully. Doesn't seem to make a change. What am I missing here? I was just trying to get dipstick tube in without that other seal, and this is already a really tight fit. And I mean really tight. So I was just rechecking all my footage if I even had a boot seal for the dipstick tube already in. And since this tube is a tight fit, this would have never fitted. I think so. At least with engine and transmission in the car, I cannot get this in. So I'm gonna clean that, save it as a spare part, and go on from here without that boot seal and just use the original O-ring. Yeah, so let's get that done because I don't want to mess around with that any longer. So let's loop the O-ring and the hole for the dipstick tube. And now let's finally get that in and get things going. Yeah, so this is in. It sits nice and tight. So let's get that on. This boot seal took me far too long. And even far too long to realize that I don't need it. So this is tight. Next big thing is going to be to get the top bolt into the bell housing. So I need 10 meters of extensions. So the fun part is going to be to get that into the bell housing hole. Once it's in there, I think it's a lot easier to do the rest. Gotta align the dipstick tube just a little. I'm gonna do it from the top side because we want that little tab here to be right at the bell housing. I won't be able to get the bolt in from up here, but I hope I'll be able to get it started from down here. I think I gotta tilt the engine and transmission just a little bit more. So let's try that. Oh yeah. What a relief. It's finally in there. Oh, wow. Next step is going to be to get the cross member back in. While you've been charging, I torqued down the crossmember bolts and bolted in the exhaust pipes again. I'm torquing the last bolt here, the cross member. This is the one that's not that easy to reach because of the e-brake cable. Now's the time to get the drive shaft back in. I try to get some of the lubrication onto that tail housing seal. Now onto the yoke. So it slides right in. There is the e-brake cable, so I have to get that above that, like so. Now let's carefully slide that in. And now let's bolt the end of the drive shaft to the differential. I have to put the trans in neutral because it's just somewhat wrong oriented. I just want to get in one bolt so it stays in place already. It's getting really cold here and I am starting to lose feeling in my fingers. As you can see, daylight is gone by now, so I just want to bolt on the shifting linkage and call it a day. But I'm already really happy because I got all 6 bell housing bolts back in. So tomorrow afternoon is going to be finishing up everything, filling the tranny, and yeah, started for the first time after a week of wrenching on my car, on my transmission, and hope that it drives again. All right, let's finish him up. Yeah. So down here are still some parts left, like torquing down the drive shaft, get the new oil pan onto my transmission, and just small things essentially. So these are my new radiator hoses, the upper one and the lower one, just one more hose clamp. 3 of those 4 are new, just this one on the water pump is an old one, so I'm gonna replace that. And here's the radiator drain cock. I hope that this fits, so let's see if it's coming out easily and if the size is the right one, because just looking at that, it looks way bigger than this one. So I may have ordered the wrong size because there were 2 options on Rogado, and yeah, I just gambled. And this one is the wrong size. You can instantly see that the sizes are different. This one is way smaller than the one that's in there. So in that case, I am going to put the fan housing and the radiator hoses back in to dress this here up. So this is going to be fiddling around again because I have to put in fan and fan housing at the same time. Now let's hope that everything goes in nicely. Looking good so far. Just want to put the fan here on the water pump. I'm going to address the fan housing. So now I gotta watch out for these clamps down here. This housing sits in them. So let's pull that in here. Like that. Now the two screws to hold it in place. Here's the one. And here goes the second one. Next up, the 3 remaining nuts for the fan. So next thing is going to be get the old low radiator hose out. This is one of the original ones. Now let's try to get this hose off. Yeah. Here goes the lower radiator hose. Come off already. Here we go. What I always like to do is compare old parts with the new parts. And you can see it's pretty similar. Just a little more in length up here. But overall, this is going to fit nicely. So I'm going to put the hose clamp onto this hose so I can bolt them down quickly. So since this is sitting in here like that, I want to be able to access this hose clamp from here, like so. And the lower one is going to sit here like that. So let's put this back in. So here's the water pump, and here is the lower point of the radiator. Now let's bolt this down. Alright, this sits here nice and tight all the way around. Looking good. Okay, off to the upper radiator hose. And again, I like to compare them. So this does look different, but will it fit either way? This looks completely different. So that was in here like so. Which means this should go in here like so, but it does seem to fit. It's just different routing, but this will fit nicely. Okay, so we are going to use that because remember, look at that. Out with the paper towel. But I want to be able to access this hose clamp that way, and this one is better like so. The screw is on this side, so it slips right in place. Oh yeah, looking good. There's the bulge, it's up here, so if this one sits here, there's plenty of room. There's the bulge, so I want to sit it right here. There is only one way that fits. Maybe the next thing I'm gonna do is put a longer vacuum hose in here, because this is always fumbling around to get that back in. Like, it can't twist and turn here. Come on. Okay, this is also in. these oil cooler lines for the transmission. I wanna zip tie them in place because I don't want them to hit the long tube headers in the back, and I don't want the fan to touch them either. Let's just put in some coolant in here so I can see if anything starts dripping from the bottom. And yeah, while I still have access to the lower radiator hose bolt before I put my battery back in. Let's put the cap back on, like so. Positive is back on. Let's put the battery holder back in. Now, see how tightly my battery sits in here with the self-made battery holder. This is perfect. Everything in the engine bay is back in place, replaced with new parts, and now I'm ready to creep under the car once more. But first I need to get the shifting linkage into neutral, so I can put the shifting linkage onto the transmission again. And I think the last step's going to be replacing my oil pan for the transmission, and then fill her up and start the engine. I almost forgot. I gotta put these things back in to the fan housing, which holds this little rubber mat underneath the engine in place. So let's do that first. Second one, third one, for the last one. This is the one where the head just broke off. I mean, I could reuse it for now, but let me see if I have a spare part. So I have no spare part for that, so I'm gonna reuse it and see if I can order a new set of those. Should be a generic part, so no problem. That is in too. Let's get the car in neutral. It's pretty cold in here. It's in neutral, alright. Now it shifts freely, which means I should be able to get the linkage onto the connection bolt to the transmission. It's crazy how fast the days get shorter. Early October, and it's freezing cold here in Austria. What I'm trying to do here is to get this shifting linkage here onto this bolt here. Alright, now it's on there. We are in neutral, reverse, park, drive. Alright. I'm gonna put it in neutral. Alright, I finally bolted in the drive shaft, which was way easier with the shifting linkage connected. So it would rotate freely and it just fell into place. Now it's time to install my new oil pan for the TH400. The main reason why I bought this is this tiny bolt in here. I can drain the transmission fluid way easier than taking out the oil pan with oil in it. And compared to my other oil pan, all those shapes, so this whole sealing surface seems to be completely straight compared to my old oil pan. And these humps here are way better than the ones on my old oil pan. So I'm expecting this oil pan to stay sealed. So let's put that in, and tomorrow I want to fill the transmission, shift through all gears and hope that it stays sealed, everything works, and yeah, maybe I can take a little ride. But yeah, it's gonna depend on the weather, because this one doesn't like to drive in the rain. Or at least I don't want him to drive in the rain. So what's your experience with oil pan gaskets? Do you prefer the cork one, the original style, a rubber one, or the rubber with the steel plate? I thought I made bad experiences with the cork one, but honestly it was just my transmission as a whole that kept leaking. Quite honestly, this oil pan is way too beautiful for my caddy, at least in his current state. Rebuilding my TH400 took me much longer than anticipated. I planned on doing that during the weekend, starting on Friday, finishing up on Sunday, and now it's Saturday the week after. So yeah, but it is what it is. What I still need to do is to route those lines from and to the oil cooler of the transmission. I'm looking to route those lines far away from the long tube headers here, and I think it was like up here, that way, and this one line, this is the upper line to the cooler. I can pull that just a tiny bit more forward, or push it forward like that. So this is the upper hose I was talking about. This is much longer than the lower one. The lower one sits fine here, but I still want to zip tie that to here, so it won't get pushed into the fan. So I'll just simply zip tie both lines here. That'll work fine. So this looks good here. As much freely, so I just want to double check the lines coming from the transmission, if they still are routed correctly. Then I'm gonna put the car on its wheels again. Yeah, this still looks good. The routing of these two oil cooler lines looks really good. Before I put the car down on its wheels again, I just want to double check everything. If every nut and bolt is tightened, every line is where it should be, so that everything works nicely. I have torqued these drive shaft bolts, 4 of them. I torqued the exhaust pipe to the muffler, flange thingy stuff here. So this is tight, this is tight. I torqued the pipe to the long tube headers connection on both sides. I torqued the oil pan. These are all torqued down, like this nut here, left and right bolt, this thing here, the 4 nuts and bolts mounting the cross member to the subframe, this linkage connection into the shifter here is connected. I bolted the cover on. The downdrift solenoid connection is in. The speedometer cable is mounted. Here is the vacuum hose correctly installed. Those are tightened. The dipstick tube is in. The 3 bolts connecting the flywheel to the torque converter are torqued down. So I think I've tightened everything. So let's put the Seville on its wheels again. What I didn't mention is I tightened the hose clamps, upper and lower radiator hose. The lower one still seems to be dry, which is good. But this is just from pulling the old one out, but this is completely dry. I just carefully read both manuals, the one from the transmission and the one from the car itself, and both say you have to pre-fill the transmission with 4 quarts of transmission fluid before you start the engine, and 4 quarts are roughly 4 liters, 3.8 to be exact. I just put in the first liter. So here goes the 2nd liter, the 3rd liter. Now let's put in the 4th liter. Alright, so let's start the engine. Now we'll see if everything will work. Gonna put the dipstick tube back in for now, just in case if it wants to spray tranny fluid out of there. Don't think so, but just want to be careful here. Alright, this is the moment. That doesn't sound too good. Let's put more fluid in. So that's 5 liters, 6 liters, 7 liters. So I'm gonna put 1 more liter in, and then I'll shift through the gears again. 8 liters. Alright, let's hope that works better, or sounds better this time. I don't like that whining noise. It could be the oil pump having too little fluid in there. So 1 more time. Let's check the fluid level one more time. I added 8 liters already, but that should be way too little. So let's put in more. This is the 9th liter, 10, 11. Let's shift through the gears one more time before I put in the last liter. I'm gonna pre-fill this bottle one more time. So now it's only 1 liter missing, and I hope this whining noise stops, because service manual says like it can be that the oil pump has too little oil or the needle bearings could be damaged, but I replaced all of them. So let's start and shift through the gears one more time. So it can't be the output shaft because the car is still standing. So either it's the input shaft seal or something completely different. It's finally running, not whining anymore. So I guess the oil pump didn't have enough oil, so I let the car warm up properly. Just smoking a bit from under here, and I think that's all of some of the cleaner that's on the transmission case, and maybe a new oil pan. Yeah, looks good. Alright, so let's do a test drive. Finally. Took me way longer than expected, and I'm really nervous that everything works, but someday I gotta do it. So why not now? It hasn't leaked a single drop of oil. Let's just take a small cruise around town. Let's go. So I'm driving really careful to listen for shifting gears. So I think now we're in second gear. Still sounds okay. But what you can't see is how pumped I am. My heart rate is at max, I guess. At least close to. Second gear. Third gear. You can't imagine how pumped I am. I am not sure how the braking process of a transmission really is. Some say you have to drive carefully for at least 500 miles. Some say it should work after a few miles. But honestly, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So this was just a small cruise around town. I'm going for a country road now. I'm aiming for 40 to 45 miles per hour. Just slowly accelerating. I'm at 40. So what I don't want to do is like a really hard acceleration. When I first started the car and the pump started with this whining noise, I think you couldn't hear and feel or sense how pumped I was. But to be honest, that whining noise is pretty normal. If you think about it, it's just a straight gear, no helix or something. So it's just a regular straight gear. And if you drive in reverse, you can hear that whining noise too. It's just straight gear. So not every passage for the oil was looped and filled. So I think that's just a normal kind of braking process or first start process. What happened quite regularly was when I put the car from reverse into drive, there was some strange metal noise. It's and now I know it's the transmission was trying to get a grip with the clutch discs that had no material left on them. So I'm really curious if something like that happens again. I mean, it shouldn't, but you never know. Also, I can't see any sort of smoke or something. Nothing that indicates a problem with my transmission so far. So I'm in third gear at around 30-ish miles per hour. It's really crazy if you think about it. I was driving my car with absolutely no material on clutch discs at all. And it worked. It still worked. Sometimes it had a few flaws, but all in all, I mean, it worked. So some say or mention on the internet that TH400 is built like a tank. And I guess it truly is. Otherwise, I couldn't have been able to drive that car for over 10 years now. And I don't want to think about how many of those years I've been driving this car with no material on those clutch discs. And I'm not sure if you have seen that in the video. I mean, they played all kinds of colors, but they were really bent because of the heat. I'm already close to my destination, so I'm fueling them up, have a cup of coffee or something, then I'll cruise back home. Now I'm on my way back home again,
and everything's working fine so far. It's going to be a nice sundown cruise back home. So this is a huge accomplishment. I would have never thought I'd be able to do. Yeah, but it just really feels great to know that I've rebuilt this transmission under the tunnel here. This was a very good shift. I'm at 35, another good shift. You can't really tell the shift points. It's so smooth. I'm so happy. That feels really good. I'm finally back home and the test drive went extremely good. I'm so relieved, and now I think I can say that I've successfully rebuilt a TH400. So I'm so relieved, so happy, I can't tell you how good it feels. But yeah, it's done. So yeah, off to the next project. And thank you so much for watching my videos, for commenting, for subscribing. I'm really humbled and thankful for all of you. So yeah, stay tuned and drive safe, take care, see you soon.